Hello and welcome back. Let's start talking about model view control design pattern. I use it heaps, quite a lot. The way it applies here is basically our model stores our underlying data. In this case, the model is pretty much just the map at the moment. Our view is everything that we can see on the screen. So yeah, this map container counts as view, the map view obviously. Type selector is a type of view, kind of, yeah, because it's something that we see on the screen. Property editor, map controller. I mean this in the simple sense that this is something that we can see and interact with. It's kind of like a view. Okay. Then we have the controller. Now the controller takes the input and actually does stuff with it. And that's why I'm going to count this editor as our controller class, because the editor takes signals and basically acts on them. Now what I want to do in this video is set these buttons up. We have an editor, we can here can cycle through, but these buttons aren't doing anything. And we can move the mouse around, but these buttons aren't doing anything either. So I'm going to hook these up. But we're not going to hook these up, right? Because these buttons are defined in various view classes. We're actually going to hook that functionality up in the editor. Hopefully this is starting to make sense. So one thing I want to do is I want to just make sure that my draw stuff is working. So I'm going to go to map view and we're just going to test this out. So we're going to go to the paint event and we're just going to print paint or draw or something like that. Because every time we move the camera around, we want to check that we are re-triggering that, because we want to refresh the screen, obviously. So we start this off, 4 things are painting. Okay, that's great. Now I'm going to make a function. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go, alrighty, I'm going to call the Repaint function. And what I'm testing is I'm testing if I do that on the map container, will that repaint all 4 of the map views? Okay, but we need to get a way to kind of hook this in. So I'm going to make a function called connect widgets. And this will take the widgets that we defined and connect them. So what do we have? We'll have, yeah, let's go with the map controller. Move left button. Get the clicked event there. The click signal. And connect it to refresh screen. Okay, now let's test that. So we'll go here, we're doing new map. What am I thinking? Make all the widgets and layouts and then connect the widgets. Awesome. All right. Right, so right now we have had 4 paint events. Then if we click left, we get another 4 paint events. So yes, this is working as we expect it to. Okay, so I'm gonna leave that for now. Actually, no, I'm gonna work on that. Okay, so I'm gonna take this and I'm going to make the functions which will basically move everything. So I'm going to change this to move left. Just bearing in mind that in our direction convention, up is -1 in the Y. Okay, cool. So we have that. So hopefully the model view control philosophy is starting to sink in. So we have this created already, and we take a signal from it and connect it to our action, because we are the controller, of course. Okay, cool. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and edit that, the widgets basically, so that when we create the map container, we tell the map container about ourselves, so that its view children will be able to grab the camera position from the controller, if that makes sense. Okay, great. Then we'll go to the map view and we'll put that into the keyword arguments. Then we can go ahead and use this. Cool. Okay, so camera position will be in grid coordinates, and it's actually really simple the way we're going to use this. We will just take the X component and use it as a shift along with the grid that we're drawing. So if the camera is 2 units to the right, then all the X values that print out on the labels will be 2 values to the right. Let's see if this works. Indeed it does. So see, we have clicked along to the right, and now our rightmost X is 24, and that has happened in all of the view controls at the same time. We click to the left, and everything shifts at the same time. We click up, we click down, and everything is shifting appropriately in all 4 views. So the next thing we need to do is we need to set up the type selector, or the brush selector. I'm going to take this brush index and I'm actually going to shift it. I'm going to put it into the editor for the simple reason that the editor is the controller. So we'll have that there, but we will give it a default value. Okay. Then we'll say, great, what do we want to do when we click on the brush, to shift the brush? Does that even make sense? Okay, so what do we want to do when we click here or here? Well, we want to shift the brush index. We want to change the text in the label. And later on, we're going to change this stuff down here. Okay. And we'll grab that and do the same thing on the right brush. Cool. That looks great. Okay, so then we'll just need to connect that in. So we'll say, alrighty. What was this? This was the type selector. Good, and we'll just run that. Okay, so we're cycling through, and that is repeating. That's good. And we can cycle through the other way, and it repeats. Awesome. So here we had a label, which is a persistent object. As I click through these options, I'm always going to have a label here. It'll just have different text. However, for instance, when we have walls, I probably want to have like a wall texture and then a like shift left right. But then when we have player, for instance, I don't want that. So what I want to do is I want to have this property editor frame with dynamic widgets, so I can delete the widgets, add new widgets, so I can create layouts on the fly. So the first thing I want to do is I want to be able to delete everything in a layout. Of course, I will go to the property editor, and here I have self.label. I'm actually going to remove that, so this won't be a persistent object. This will just be, you know what I mean. This exists so long as it exists within the layout, and so long as it has a parent, if that makes sense. That's fine for now. I'll just go up here and I'll make a function which clears everything from a layout. Okay, so I'm going to grab, pretty much iterate through all the objects in the layout. So we want to count to nomi 0. I'm going to get the first element. It's going to take element 0. Then I'm going to say if that thing that we take out counts as a widget, then we'll work with it. And what this does is this marks it for deletion. Okay, cool. So we have that. Now, if I look up here, I'm going to have walls, doors, floors, ceilings, player. So I want to have all of these, and I want to be able to populate the properties for each of these. So I'm going to say, okay, make a function called populate. Good. So I'll create a new one and I'll hook that in. Okay, so what could we do? We want to connect this to the select left brush. So every time the brush, or left or right, so anytime the brush changes, it'll call that. But we can't connect, well, I don't know if we can connect multiple signals to one, multiple actions to one signal. I'm just going to connect it here. So we'll go call the function, and that works just as well as if it was connected. So run that, and at the moment we have this thing that says property editor. We click over, that's gone. We have a new widget called wall properties, and as you can see, we could create any layout we want. It just happens to be replacing a label with a label, which is why it looks as though the text was changed, even though that isn't what happened. So that's working. Now I'll just take this and duplicate it and make many of them. Very exciting. Okay, so we have got a bunch of functions. What could we do? Well, when we click left, we could do a kind of, where are we? We could do a kind of if statement based on self brush index, but probably a better idea is to have a bunch of function references and call the appropriate function based on what our index is. So in the initializer, we can say, make this, we'll say self dot make a list, and this will be references to all of the functions. Okay, do have to make sure that the order here matches the order of our brushes. And yeah, obviously there are more robust ways of setting that up, but this is fine for now. We're just mocking this up. All right, so now we'll call the populate functions, and the function we'll call is the one which corresponds to our brush index, and we'll call that function, and we can actually do the exact same thing down below. Okay. So fingers crossed, at the moment it says property editor. Now we're on player and it says player. Now we're on walls and it says walls. We can just keep popping through and everything is working properly. Okay. Of course, we should also set this up properly at the beginning. So now we have that, and at the beginning we don't have property editor, it matches, we have walls. Excellent. So I hope you had fun with that. It's really cool how we can connect things. So again, the purpose here is we have things that we can see and click on and stuff, and then the controller handles those click actions. Anyway, hope you had fun, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.